We're going to be looking at dreams. We're going to be looking at interpretation of dreams, and what are we to take from our dreams? Are dreams from Yehova? When do we have dreams from Yehova? How do we interpret dreams from Yehova? All that sort of stuff. Because I think that's useful, because you always see people talking about, I've had this dream, or I've had that dream, and maybe it means this, or maybe it means that, and maybe it's from Yehova, and maybe it's not. But there's a way for us to know, and obviously his word is the way for us to know. If we look at dreams in his word, then we can discern how we are to react to these things. Genesis 41, it says, and it came to be at the end of 2 years' time that Pharaoh had a dream and saw him standing by the river, which is phrased a bit weird. I'm not sure if it's just an artifact of the language, how it's translated, but we do find out later that he did see himself. He describes him as seeing himself standing by the river. And saw 7 cows coming up out of the river, fine looking and fat, and they fed amongst the reeds. Then saw 7 other cows coming up after them out of the river, ugly and lean of flesh, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the river. And the ugly and lean of flesh cows ate up the 7 fine-looking and fat cows. Then Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed a second time, and saw 7 heads of grain coming up on one stalk, plump and good. And saw 7 lean heads scorched by the east wind coming up after them. And the 7 lean heads swallowed the plump and complete heads. Then Pharaoh awoke and saw that it was a dream. And it came to be in the morning that his spirit was moved, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Mitzrayim and all its wise men. And Pharaoh related to them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. So there's several interesting things in this. Okay, as we're looking at dreams, you're going to see the words relate and interpret. Relate, obviously, when you tell somebody a dream. Interpret when you're given an interpretation of the dream. I find it interesting that when it's talking about the wise men here, it said no one could interpret them for Pharaoh. He tells them what the dream is. These often you question things, don't you? When people have, according to the wisdom of the world, dream interpretation and all that sort of occultic pseudoscience, you kind of question it a bit, question its effectiveness. Are they just making it up? Are they getting it from somewhere? Is it coming from a spiritual source outside of Yehova? How does it work? Well, these people, when they had the ruler of Egypt saying to them, this is my dream, give me an interpretation, they didn't just make up an interpretation. They couldn't actually interpret his dream. And this is very similar to another account that we have in the scriptures. Obviously, it's very similar to the account with Daniel and his dream interpretation. And when you have parallel accounts that have a lot of the same sort of features to them, or the same sort of things that happen, the same sort of language that's used in them, often you can see from one account something in the other account. You can look at what's missing in one or the other of the accounts and see if it makes a commentary on the other one. In Daniel 1, verse 17, it tells us, as for these 4 young men, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. So this is something that was given to him by Elohim, by the Spirit of Elohim, and it's recognized in both accounts that this is because of the Spirit of Elohim that these people can do this interpretation. But Daniel was given understanding in all vision and dreams. In chapter 2 it says, and in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Again, very similar sort of language that we've got here. And the king gave orders to call the magicians and the astrologers and the practices of witchcraft and the Chaldeans to declare to the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I've had the dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. The Chaldean spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Relate the dream to your servants, and we shall reveal the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream and its interpretation to me, your limbs shall be taken from you and your houses made dunghills. So he won't relate the dream to them. He says, no, I want you to tell me what the dream is. And he kind of gives a little bit of an insight into why that is. He says, but if you reveal the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive gifts and rewards and great esteem from me, as we know happened to Yosef with Pharaoh. So reveal to me the dream and its interpretation. They answered again and said, let the king relate to his servants the dream, and we shall reveal its interpretation. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. So this is interesting, isn't it? He's saying to them, look, you've agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me. It reminds me of how people are with certain things, like, if they're looking into horoscopes or anything like that, or any kind of the bad spiritual path, the bad ways of doing things, divination and things. They don't really trust them. They don't really think that they are necessarily entirely correct. Okay, so he says, you've agreed to speak lying and corrupt words to me until the time has changed. So relate the dream to me. Then I shall know you shall reveal its interpretation for me. If you can tell me what the dream is and I've not told you, then I know there's something going on. You've got some kind of powers of interpretation. With Pharaoh, he did relate the dream to them and they still couldn't do it. So as to whether or not they've got some way of doing this according to the wisdom of men, suggest that probably they do, because you can read online dream interpretation. How do you interpret dreams? And there's all this kind of new agey information about interpreting dreams and how you do it. I think if you went onto a new age dream website and put these sort of dreams in, or looked up this sort of dream, you would have a struggle interpreting it as well. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is no one on earth who is able to reveal the matter of the king, because no king, master, or ruler has ever asked a matter like this of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean, even Pharaoh. And the matter the king is asking is difficult, and there is no other who is able to reveal it to the king except the Elohim, whose dwelling is not with flesh. Because of this, the king was enraged and very wroth and gave orders to destroy all the wise ones of Babel. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise ones, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then with counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the chief of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise ones of Babel. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's officer, why is the decree from the king so urgent? So Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time, and he would show the king the interpretation. And Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, to seek compassion from the Elah of the heavens concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise ones of Babel. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision, and Daniel blessed the Elah of the heavens. So he had understanding in dreams. He could have interpreted this dream for the king, but the king wouldn't tell him what the dream was. So he needed to have it revealed to him what it was. And he goes and he prays and he asks for compassion. Elohim reveals the secret to him in a vision. Daniel responded and said, blessed be the name of Allah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who possess understanding. He reveals deep and secret matters. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. So I want you to notice that it talks a lot of Elohim revealing secrets, because we're going to hear this language elsewhere. I thank you and praise you, O Allah of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you. And you have made known to us the king's matter. So Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise ones of Babel. He went and said this to him, do not destroy the wise ones of Babel. Bring me in before the king, and I shall show the interpretation to the king. Then Arioch brought Daniel in a hurry before the king, and said thus to him, I have found a man among the sons of the exiles of Yehuda who does make known to the king the interpretation. So the Jews had all been exiled to Babylon. Daniel had a position there. Okay, and he says, look, I found this man who will be able to do this for you. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation?" Daniel answered before the king and said, "The secret which the king is asking, the wise ones, the astrologers, the magicians, and the diviners are unable to show it to the king. But there is an Allah in the heavens who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what is to be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O king, on your bed your thoughts came up. What is going to take place after this? And he who reveals secrets has made known to you what shall be after this." So the king was thinking, what's going to be after this? What does the future hold? Elohim revealed it to him. "As for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes, who make known the interpretation to the king, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart." So he says, look, I haven't got more wisdom and understanding than anybody, but Elohim has shown compassion to us because you were going to kill us, and also for your sake, so that you will know the future. Compare it to this, and it came to be in the morning that his spirit was moved, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Mitzrayim and all its wise men, and Pharaoh related to them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. Now, 1 Corinthians 2, 4 to 14 is important for us to consider in this. It says, "My word and my preaching were not with persuasive words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and power." So with the Pharaoh, they couldn't interpret his dreams, even though he told them to them. The king, he didn't really trust them. Okay, he asked them for the interpretation, but he said, first you've got to relate the dream to me. But they would have been unable to anyway. Not with persuasive words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, in order that your belief should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of Elohim. When Elohim does these things, when he acts and he's given these people these dreams, particularly these pagan kings, it's in order for them to not have belief in the wisdom of men, but have belief in the power of Elohim, because they do end up giving credence to this. Yet we speak wisdom among those who are perfect, and not the wisdom of this age, nor the rulers of this age that are being brought to naught, but we speak the wisdom of Elohim, which was hidden in a secret, okay? Which Elohim ordained before the ages for our esteem, which no one of the rulers of this age knew, for if they had known, they would not have crucified the Master of esteem, the Lord of glory. But as it has been, eye has not seen and ear has not heard, nor have entered into the heart of man what Elohim has prepared for those who love him. But Elohim has revealed them to us through his Spirit. Okay, this is what he's doing with Yosef. This is what he's doing with Daniel. This is why they can interpret these dreams, because they were given by Elohim. And the only way that a dream given by Elohim of this nature can be interpreted is through the Spirit of Elohim. For the Spirit searches all matters, even the depths of Elohim. For who among men knows the thoughts of a man except the spirit of a man that is in him? So also the thoughts of Elohim no one has known except the Spirit of Elohim. And we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from Elohim, in order to know what Elohim has favorably given us, which we also speak, not in words of man's wisdom teachers, but which the set-apart Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual matters with spiritual matters. And the natural man does not receive the matters of the Spirit of Elohim. Remember, they were unable to interpret this dream, for they are foolishness to him, and he is unable to know them because they are spiritually discerned. So the dreams of man, they can interpret them according to the wisdom of the age. They cannot interpret a dream given by Elohim, though, except by the Spirit of Elohim. Remember, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill and learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, this isn't actually spoken directly of Yosef. Okay, in the account with Yosef, it never says that he has understanding in these things. It's just apparent from the narrative that we see. 1 Corinthians 14, 1 to 26 gives us some absolutely key information about how the Spirit of Elohim works, and therefore how interpretation of dreams works. It says, pursue love and earnestly seek the spiritual gifts, but rather that you prophesy. For he who is speaking in a tongue does not speak to men, but to Elohim. For no one understands, but in the spirit he speaks secrets. Okay, again, speaking these secrets. Okay, this is a great verse, just incidentally. For he who is speaking in a tongue does not speak to men. Okay, it's not a language. It's not a foreign language. He speaks to Elohim because no one understands. Okay, if you speak in a foreign language, then all the people who could speak the foreign language would understand. In the spirit, he speaks secrets in the spirit. That's what's going on when you're speaking in tongues. But he who is prophesying speaks edification, encouragement, and comfort to men. Okay, that's what to prophesy is. It's to bring forth the word, and it speaks edification, encouragement, and comfort to men. Okay, so Paul's saying, look, it's better to prophesy. He says later, I would that you would all speak in tongues. Speaking in tongues is great, but prophesying is what he wants. And this is relevant to what we're looking at. He says, he who is speaking in a tongue edifies himself, but he who is prophesying edifies the assembly. Okay, if you're speaking in a tongue, if your spirit is praying to Elohim, things that you do not know, things that you obviously need to pray, but you don't know that you need to pray them, so your spirit's praying to Elohim, that's great. But he who is prophesying edifies all the people who hear. Why? Because they speak things that can be understood by the other people. Now I wish you all spoke with tongues, but rather that you might prophesy. For he who is prophesying is greater than he who is speaking with tongues, unless he interprets, okay, so that the assembly might receive edification. Okay, so you've got speaking plainly, speaking the word of Elohim plainly, and that's good because it can be understood by everyone. And then you've got speaking in tongues, which is great because you're praying to Elohim. But when it comes to the assembly, the only way that it's going to edify someone in the assembly is if you interpret what is being spoken, that you have the gift of interpreting this tongue that you've spoken. Same with dreams. But now, brothers, if I come to you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you unless I speak to you either by revelation or by knowledge or by prophesying or by teaching? Nevertheless, lifeless instruments making a sound, whether flute or harp, if they do not make a distinction in the sound, how shall it be known what is played on the flute or on the harp? Okay, if you're playing on an instrument and there was no break in between the notes, then it would just be one long drone, one long noise. Okay, you need a distinction in between the notes so that you can see what is being played. For indeed, if the trumpet makes an indistinct sound, who shall prepare himself for the battle? Okay, there were different sounds that you could make on the trumpet. If you didn't make the battle cry, battle call on the trumpet, who would know that they were being called to the battle? Okay, there were different things. Trumpets so that they could meet. Trumpets if they were going to battle. Trumpets for this or that. If you don't do the right one, who knows what's being signaled to them? So also you, if you do not give speech by the tongue that is clear, how shall it be known what is spoken? For you shall be speaking into the air. Elohim is not in the habit of speaking into the air. Okay, when he gives us dreams, he's either going to speak to us clearly and he's going to say this, so that you understand that Elohim is speaking to you and he's saying a particular thing to you. Or if you have one of these dreams, which are much, much more rare, they're not kind of like, you don't have a dream which is kind of about something that's going on. And it's like, well, maybe I'm being told about this thing that's going on. Okay, Elohim either speaks clearly or he speaks in these symbols and pictures, and then you need somebody to interpret them by the Spirit of Elohim, and then it's very clear interpretation that's given. Sometimes the interpretation is given by an angel of Elohim. You have the prophetic dream. We'll see an example with Yaakov in a bit. We have the prophetic dream and then an angel gives the interpretation to it. But most of the time throughout Scripture, if Elohim is trying to tell you something, he comes to you in a dream and he tells you this. Do this. I want you to do this, 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 this. This is the reason why I want you to do it. Okay? We have dreams, and we have dreams about things that are going on in our lives. That doesn't mean that we're having a dream that is trying to guide us. Okay, that's not something that we ever see in Scripture. Elohim either speaks clearly to us, or he speaks in symbols and then gives an interpretation by his Spirit. Okay, so if you do not give speech by the tongue that is clear, how shall it be known what is spoken? For you shall be speaking into the air. If he gives you a dream, okay, and he doesn't tell you exactly what it is, how are you going to know what Elohim is saying? Okay, he doesn't do that. There are undoubtedly so many kinds of sounds in the world, and none of them is without distinct sound. Okay, each thing has something that it signifies, something that it means, something that you can understand it by. If then I do not know the power of the voice, I shall be a foreigner to him who speaks, and he who speaks be a foreigner to me. The Greek word is barbaros, okay, a barbarian, somebody that you cannot understand. So also you, since you are ardent for spiritual gifts, seek to excel in the edification of the assembly. Therefore, he who is speaking in a tongue, let him pray that he might interpret. Okay, it's great if you speak in a tongue, speaking to Elohim, you're praying things that you don't know to Elohim, you're speaking secrets to him. How much better if you could pray something in a tongue to Elohim and then be able to understand what it was the Spirit was saying on your behalf to Elohim. For if I'm praying in a tongue, my spirit is praying, but my understanding is without fruit. What then is it? I shall pray with the Spirit. I shall also pray with the understanding. Okay, I'll pray to Elohim with the Spirit, all those things that need to be prayed. But I'll also pray with my understanding, because those are things that I receive edification from in a different way. I shall sing with the Spirit. I shall also sing with the understanding. Otherwise, if you bless with the Spirit, how shall he who fills up the place of the unlearned say Amen at your giving of thanks, since he does not know what you are saying? Okay, so if you speak in a tongue and you speak this amazing blessing over somebody, but they don't know what you're saying, how are they going to agree with you? How will they say Amen? For you truly give thanks well, but the other's not edified. I thank my Elohim, I speak with tongues more than you all. But in an assembly, I wish to speak 5 words with my understanding, that I might instruct others also, than 10,000 words in a tongue. And it's the same with Elohim. If he's going to say something to you, he's not going to come in a dream that's kind of about something where you're like, oh, maybe this is from Elohim, maybe this is some kind of guidance on this issue, and you don't know. Because what does that profit you? It doesn't profit you anything. Elohim would rather speak 5 words to you clearly about what he actually wants than just speak into the air. Brothers, do not be children in your thinking, but in evil be babes, and in your thinking be perfect. In the Torah it has been written, with men of other tongues and other lips I shall speak to this people, and even so they shall not hear me, says Yehova. So then tongues are for a sign, not to those who believe, but to unbelievers. And prophesying is not for unbelievers, but for those who believe. And he'll go on to explain this. If then all the assembly comes together in one place, and all speak with tongues, and there come in those who are unlearned or unbelievers, shall they not say that you're mad? If they come in and you're speaking things that they can't understand, they're going to think that you're insane. But if all prophesy and an unbeliever, an unlearned one comes in, he is reproved by all, he's discerned by all. Okay, if an unbeliever comes in and everyone's speaking in tongues, they might be speaking the most amazing secrets. They might be speaking, just incredible things, but because they can't understand them, then it doesn't profit them. But if they come in and everyone's speaking the word of Elohim, then of course they're reproved by all, they're discerned by all. They go in, they hear the word of Elohim, and it's like holding a mirror up to them. And they say, wow, this is powerful, this is truth. And so the secrets of his heart are revealed. And so falling down on his face, he shall worship Elohim, declaring that Elohim is truly among you. What then is it, brothers? Whenever you come together, each one has a psalm, has a teaching, has a tongue, has a revelation, has an interpretation. Let all be done for edification. If anyone speaks in a tongue, let there be 2 or at most 3. Each in turn, let one interpret. And if there's no interpreter, let him be silent in the assembly, and let him speak to himself and to Elohim. How much more true is this of Elohim? If there's no one to interpret a dream, then he will stay silent Okay, he'd rather speak those 5 words with his understanding. And what we're going to see is that this is how he speaks to us in dreams. If he wants to come and tell us something, he's going to come and give us very explicit details about it. In Matthew 1:18-20, it says, "But the birth of Yeshua Messiah was as follows. After his mother Miriam was engaged to Yosef, before they came together, she was found to be pregnant from the set-apart spirit. And Yosef, her husband, being righteous and not wishing to make a show of her, had in mind to put her away secretly. So it says that the Father sent his spirit to overshadow Miriam, and this is how she conceived." That is why Yeshua is called the Son of Elohim. That's what the scriptures say. Yosef, seeing that his future wife was pregnant, being righteous, said, "Okay, I'm not going to make a fuss. I'm just going to put her away secretly." But while he thought about this, see, an angel of Yehova appeared to him in a dream. And we saw angel, messenger, same word. Comes with a message, certainly here. Appeared to him in a dream saying, "Yosef, son of David, do not be afraid to take Miriam as your wife, for that which is in her was brought forth from the set-apart spirit." Okay, so he didn't wake up and go, "Oh, that was a weird dream. I wonder if that was from Elohim." No, the angel of Yehova came to him and said, "I need you to know these things, explicitly this, explicitly this." In Matthew 2:7-22, it says, "Then Herodes, having called the Magi secretly, learned exactly from them what time the star appeared. And having sent them to Bethlehem, he said, 'Go and search diligently for the child. And when you found him, bring back word to me, so that I too might go and do reverence to him.' And having heard the king, they went and see the star which they had seen in the east went before them, until it came and stood over where the child was. And seeing the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And coming into the house, they saw the child with Miriam, his mother, and fell down and did reverence to him. And opening their treasuries, they presented to him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream that they should not return to Herodes, they departed for their own country by another way." Okay, so again, warning, don't go there. "When they had left, see, an angel of Yehova appeared to Yosef in a dream, saying, 'Arise, take the child and his mother, flee to Mitzrayim, remain there until I bring you word, for Herodes is about to seek the child to destroy him.'" Okay? "Arise, take the child and his mother, flee to Mitzrayim, stay there until I bring you word," because this reason. Very, very clear, very easily understandable. "And rising up, he took the child and his mother by night and departed from Mitzrayim, and remained there until the death of Herodes, to fill what was spoken by Yehova through the prophet, saying, 'Out of Mitzrayim I have called my son.' Then Herodes, having seen that he was fooled by the Magi, was greatly enraged, and he sent forth and slew all the male children in Bethlehem and in all its borders, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had exactly learned from the Magi. Then was filled what was spoken by Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, 'A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they were no more. And Herodes, having died, see, an angel of Yehova appeared in a dream to Yosef in Mitzrayim, saying, "Arise and take the child and his mother, go to the land of Israel, because those seeking the life of the child are dead." Okay, so again, just explicitly clear. So you've got the 2 dreams. You've got one which is symbolic, and it's all weird, and you don't know what it means. And you have to be given an interpretation, and it doesn't bear any kind of resemblance to the situation that it's talking about. It's not like you're dreaming about that situation and you get guidance from it. Bears no resemblance to it at all. It's all in weird prophetic symbols, and then somebody by the Spirit of Elohim gives you the exact interpretation to it. Or Elohim will come to you directly and say to you, this, because this. And it will be very clear what is being said. Rising up, he took the child and his mother and came into the land of Israel. But hearing that Archelaus was reigning over Yehudah instead of his father Herodes, he was afraid to go there. And having been warned in a dream, he departed to parts of Galilee. In 1 Kings 3, 5-15, we see another example of this. At Gibbon, Yehova appeared to Shlomo in a dream by night, and Elohim said, "Ask what I should give you." what we're going to see is that they now have a two-way conversation in the dream. Elohim appears to him, tells him something. Shlomo said, "You have shown great kindness to your servant David, my father, as he walked before you in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with you. And you have guarded him for this great kindness and to give him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, O Yehovah, my Elohim, you have set up your servant to reign instead of my father David. But I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous or too numbered to be counted. Shall you then give to your servant an understanding heart to rule over your people, to discern between good and evil? And who is able to rule this great people of yours?" And the word was good in the eyes of Yehovah that Shlomo had asked this. So Elohim said to him, "Because you have asked this and have not asked for long life for yourself, nor asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment and to understand right ruling. See, I shall do according to your words. See, I shall give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like you before you, and none like you shall rise after you. And I shall also give you what you have not asked, both riches and esteem, so that there shall not be anyone like you among the kings all your days. And if you walk in my ways to guard my laws and my commands, as your father David walked, then I shall prolong your days." So it couldn't have been any clearer what this dream meant, okay? Because it didn't need interpreting, did it? Yehovah, if he wants to achieve something, he achieves it. He doesn't come and give us something that we puzzle over and we're like, I don't know, am I supposed to take anything from that? Because we dream about things. We dream about things that are going on in our lives, but it's very dangerous to then say, okay, so that dream about something that was happening in my life, that might have been from Yehovah. Never the case in Scripture. And we can see when we read his word how he operates. Shlomo awoke and see it was a dream, and he came into Jerusalem and stood before the Ark of the Covenant of Yehovah and offered up burnt offerings and made peace offerings, and he made a feast for all his servants. Genesis 31, 9-12, we're going to see an example now with Yaakov being given an interpretation. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. This is when he's speaking to his wives when he's leaving Laban's house. It came to be at the time when the flocks conceived that I lifted my eyes and looked in a dream and saw the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the angel of Yehovah spoke to me in a dream, saying, Yaakov. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now and see all the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. So we can see. Okay, there are no dreams about situations which are trying to inform you about a situation. Either Elohim will come and tell you explicitly what he wants from you, or you're going to have some kind of prophetic, symbolic dream that you can't understand just according to your understanding, and then you'll be given an interpretation. 1 Samuel 28, verse 6 shows us that Shaul inquired of Yehovah, but Yehovah did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. Okay, so he inquired of Yehovah, and it certainly seems from this that when you inquire of Yehovah, that a way that he can answer you is in dreams. Now, he was the king, and he did have access to the prophets and to the Urim and the Thummim to ask. So maybe it was because he was the king, but Yehovah wants to answer you directly about something. He could certainly do so in a dream. Daniel 2 verse 30 says, As for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart. So when Elohim acts with a dream, when he does something, what he's trying to do is he's trying to bring about his purpose. Something that is his purpose. That's what we see when he acts in all the examples of dreams that we see. He's trying to bring about something for his purposes. He speaks to the pagans as well. He speaks to people who aren't in covenant with him. Genesis 30, 3-6 says, But Elohim came to Avimelech in a dream by night and said to him, See, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Avimelech had not come nearer, and he said, Yehovah, would you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And she even herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in the innocence of my hands I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, yea, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason I did not let you touch her. So Elohim's achieving his purpose here. He's achieving his purpose in Abraham's life directly. Also, we can see from this that when Elohim judges somebody, if they actually act in the innocency of their heart and they're not led astray by something that they wanted to be led astray by, then Elohim has a certain reaction. This is in Elohim's word for a reason, but he's achieving his purpose. But notice, he comes to him in a dream and he speaks to him directly again. Genesis 31:24. But in a dream by night, Elohim came to Lavan the Aramean and said to him, guard yourself that you do not speak to Yaakov, either good or evil. Again, very plain, he just comes to him and says, this is what I want of you. Matthew 27:19 says, and as he was sitting on the judgment seat, this is Pilate, his wife sent to him saying, have none at all to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much today in a dream because of him. So we've got Lavan, we've got Abimelech, and now we've got Pilate's wife. Elohim speaks to them in dreams to achieve his purpose again. In Judges 7:9-15, we see Elohim using dreams for his purpose in a bit of a different way. It says, and it came to be on that night that Yehova said to him, this is to Gideon, arise, go down against the camp, for I have given it into your hand. But if you're afraid to go down, you and Purah your servant to the camp, and you shall hear what they say, and after that, let your hands be strengthened, and you shall go down against the camp. So we went down with Purah's servant to the edge of the formation of fives who were in the camp. So Elohim says to him, look, I want you to go down and fight them. If you're afraid, go down, you and your servants, and listen to what they say, and you're going to hear something that emboldens you. And Midian and Amalek and all the people of the east were lying in the valley, as many as locusts, and their camels were as numerous as the sand by the seashore. And Gideon came, and see, a man was relating a dream to his companion, and said, see, I had a dream, and see, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and it came to a tent and smote it, so that it fell and overturned, and the tent fell down. And his companion answered and said, this is nil else than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, a man of Yisrael. Elohim has given Midian and all the camp into his hand. And it came to be when Gideon heard this dream related and its interpretation, he bowed himself down. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for Yehova has given the camp of Midian into your hand. Okay, so we've got a symbolic dream and an interpretation given. I don't know if this man was given the interpretation by Elohim, by his spirit, whether it was a proper interpretation or whether this is just one of the interpretations of the wisdom of the world. It could be that way, but either way, yeah, Elohim has used it for his purposes. It could be that this is, just kind of occultic pseudoscience dream interpretation that we've got going on here. But even if it is, Elohim uses all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. All things. Doesn't matter whether someone's doing something bad, because people will say, oh no, I've been into dream interpretation for a while, and it's actually good. It's led me to some right decisions in my life. Well, that doesn't matter. Got here, propheticdreamers.com, and it says here, propheticdreamers.com is a faith-based ministry. People in Christianity, people in the Torah movement are also bang into dream interpretation a lot of the time. That's the reason for propheticdreamers.com community. We have personally experienced thousands of those unexplainable and prophetic dreams. We have been provided strategic insight that when followed made all the difference. We have misinterpreted or misapplied such dreams and found ourselves in trouble, and then repeated that same mistake too many times, letting our hopes and desires cloud our understanding. propheticdreamers.com is committed to helping you access this fourth dimension and applying it to your life. After all, what can be more valuable than gaining divine and strategic insight? I don't know. How about walking according to the word, walking in righteousness, doing his commandments, having good standing before him? Though many argue that dreams are not prophetic, they're the ones who haven't searched out the hidden meaning of their dreams to notice that they coincide with their lives. These well-meaning folks haven't experienced the satisfaction, the victories, the inner peace For those bold enough to make the journey, we welcome you. But we publish a warning as well. Interpreting and implying dreams, if handled improperly or incorrectly, can have disastrous results. It can damage relationships, cost your job, or send you across the world where you will not prosper. Okay? So sometimes it's terrible when you do that, but obviously that's when you're not doing it right. Okay? Can damage relationships. Okay? If people had dreams before where you have a dream about somebody, and it changes how you actually feel about that person because of how they were in the dream. But if handled properly, dreams can lead you to the right spouse, the right job, the right church, the right home. Dreams can bring hope and comfort, even in the most difficult situations. Best of all, they can encourage you to become the wiser and fulfilled person you're intended to be. That sound familiar? Okay. Eve saw the fruit, that it was pleasurable to the eyes, and that it was desirable to make you wise. The lies of the serpent are all over this. Okay? After all, what can be more valuable than gaining divine and strategic insight? It's great. It's all about Yehova. And Exodus 12, verse 6 is a verse that I'll bring up because I'm sure when I talk about this, people are going to be like, oh, no, dreams are a good thing. Which they can be. I'm not saying that they're not, but it says, and he said, hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yehova, I make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream. Okay, but again, it's not like a dream about a situation that's going on in your life. It's him coming and speaking to you directly and saying, I want you to do this. Okay, like when he came to Jeremiah or when Isaiah has his vision. Joel 2, 28 to 29, and after this it shall be that I shall pour out my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men dream dreams, and your young men see visions. And also on the male servants and the female servants I shall pour out my spirit in those days. Okay, and this is a promise that we have of him. So what I am not saying is that dreams are never from Yehova and that we're never to pay any heed to dreams. What I am saying is that his word tells us exactly how to identify when a dream's from Yehova and when it's just a dream that we're having in our heads. Acts 2, 14 to 18. Kepha, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said to the men of Yehudah and all those dwelling in Jerusalem, let this be known to you and listen closely to my words. For these men are not drunk as you imagine, since it is only the third hour of the day. But this is what was spoken by the prophet Yehua. And that's exactly what we just read. And he said this is being fulfilled here. Okay, well, this is a fulfillment of this. We're going to have these things fulfilled in many different ways. So again, I'm not saying that dreams are never to be paid heed to, just that if you're going to pay heed to a dream in any way, make sure that Yehova has come and told you something specific. Job 7, 13 to 15 gives us some interesting information. It says, when I say my bed does comfort me, my couch does ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams, you make me afraid with visions, so that my soul chooses strangling death rather than my bones. Then you frighten me with dreams. Okay? If you remember in the account of Job, was it Yehova that was troubling him? It wasn't, was it? It was Hasatan that was troubling him. Hasatan was given power to be able to go and do certain things in Job's life. So what we can discern from this is that Hasatan can affect our dreams if given the permission by Yehova. And we see this idea of false dreams given in Scripture. Jeremiah 23, 25 to 40 says, I have heard what the prophets have said, who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. Till when shall it be in the hearts of the prophets of falsehood and prophets of the deceit of their own heart? So what they're prophesying is their dreams, and we're told that they're actually relating the dreams that they have. But what they're doing is they're prophesying the deceit of their own heart. They're dreaming things in their own imagination, in their own hearts. And then they're saying to his people, I've dreamed, who try to make my people forget my name by their dreams, which everyone relates to his neighbor. So he's relating the dreams that they have, but the dreams do not come from Yehova. The dreams are the deceit of their hearts. As their fathers forgot my name for Baal, the prophet who has a dream, let him relate the dream. And he who has my word, let him speak my word in truth. What is the chaff to the wheat, declares Yehova. Okay, don't worry about these people doing this, prophesying the deceit of their own heart. He who has my word, let him speak my word in truth. What is the chaff to the wheat? Is not my word like a fire, declares Yehova, and like a hammer that shatters a rock? Therefore, see, I am against the prophets, declares Yehova, who steal my words, every one from his neighbor. See, I am against the prophets, declares Yehova, who use their tongues and say, he declares. See, I am against those who prophesy lying dreams, dreams of falsehood, declares Yehova, and relate them and lead my people astray by their falsehood. So they have a dream, but it's not in accordance with the word, to even have those dreams and relate them as something from Yehova. It's not in accordance with his word. And they lead people astray. They lead them into thinking, oh, maybe there is something to dreams. When we have dreams, maybe we are to be listening to them and to know this or that from them. And by their reckless boasting, but I myself did not send them, nor have I commanded them, and they do not profit this people at all, declares Yehova. And when these people or the prophet or the priest ask you, saying, what is the message of Yehova? Then you shall say to them, what message? I shall forsake you, declares Yehova. As for the prophet and the priest and the people who say the message of Yehova, I shall punish that man and his house. It is a massive thing to say that something is from Yehova, or to even indicate that it might be, okay, without really having looked at his word and saying, is this something that happens in his word? Yes, he speaks to people in his word, but how does he speak to them? These are really important things. We kind of just flippantly announce things as, oh, maybe this is from Yehova. This is what each one says to his neighbor and each one to his brother. What has Yehova answered and what has Yehova spoken? For the message of Yehova you no longer remember. For every man's message is his own word, and you have changed the words of the living Elohim, Yehovah Zevaot, our Elohim. Again, this is exactly what's happening, isn't it? Everyone's speaking their own message, what's come from their own hearts, having changed the words of Elohim and said, well, this is what Elohim does. He does speak to people in dreams. This is what you say to the prophet. What has Yehovah answered you, and what has Yehovah spoken? But since you say the message of Yehova, therefore thus said Yehovah, because you say this word, the message of Yehova, and I have sent to you saying, do not say the message of Yehova, therefore see, I shall utterly forget you and cast you away from my presence along with the city that I gave you and your fathers. So this is not the situation that we're in. Okay, we come to a knowledge of what it actually is to walk in the word of Elohim. We come to a knowledge of these things. Like he's saying, I've given you a warning. Don't continue in these things because they're nonsense. We all have the chance now to repent of anything that we've ever spoken that might have been from Elohim. I shall put an everlasting reproach on you and an everlasting shame that is not forgotten. Okay, this is his attitude if people do not repent. Deuteronomy 13, 1-5. So these people are having dreams of their own hearts. We also see that Hasatan could affect Job's dreams. It says, when there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other gods which you have not known and serve them. So someone dreams a dream. They dream about something and they say, oh, maybe it was a prophetic dream. Maybe it was this thing that was going to happen. And then it does happen. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yehovah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer thinking maybe you've got some kind of strategic insight from Yehovah? Or do you actually prefer, no, this is what the word says. I'm not going to stray from this at all. Even if this dreamer of dreams is saying things that are coming true. Walk after Yehovah your Elohim and fear him and cherish his commands and obey his voice and serve him and cling to him. That prophet or that dreamer of dreams is put to death because he's spoken apostasy against Yehovah your Elohim. We don't really grasp with these things what they actually are. When we suggest things might be from Yehovah, but they are actually separate to his word. We're declaring to people a God that they've not known. We're declaring a false God to them. We're declaring Yehova to be something that he's not, and we're actually leading them astray from him, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim and redeemed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yehova, your Elohim, commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Okay. Now, Jeremiah 29 verse 8 in the Septuagint says this. I use the Septuagint. The Hebrew is actually a little bit more interesting in what it says, but I use the Septuagint for consistency. For thus saith the Lord, let not the false prophets that are among you persuade you, and let not your diviners persuade you, and hearken not to your dreams which you dream. Okay, so we've got the false prophets coming, the diviners. We've got this idea of falsity here, saying, and don't hearken to your dreams either, these lying dreams. So back to Yosef. Genesis 37, 5-11 says, Yosef dreamed a dream and told it to his brothers. So they hated him even more. And he said to them, please listen to this dream which I have dreamed. See, we were binding sheaves in the midst of the field, and see, my sheaf rose up and also stood up, and see, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And all his brothers said to him, shall you indeed reign over us? Shall you indeed rule over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. So we can understand something more about Yosef now. When he's relating these dreams to them, and he's saying, look, my sheaf rose up, your sheaves. And they're saying, shall you indeed reign over us? Okay, Yosef is given the interpretation along with the symbolic dream. He's not just given the symbolic dream and then just like, see what you want to do with that? Maybe you can all just interpret this bizarre symbolic thing and see what it means. Now, Elohim doesn't do that. He doesn't speak words into the air. He dreamed still another dream and related it to his brothers and said, see, I've dreamed another dream, and see, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me. And he related it to his father and his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream you've dreamed? Shall we, your mother and I and your brothers, indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? And I'd suggest from what we've seen that Yosef is also giving them the interpretation. They hated him for his dreams that he had, but not just for the dreams he related, also for his words about the dreams. And his brothers envied him, but his father guarded the word. Again, the other narrative that we've got, which is so incredibly similar to this one, it tells us that Elohim gave them knowledge and skill and all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in visions and dreams.